that's what that sounds like. That's the first drop, and I'll walk through what I did and try to make it a quick video of kind of my thought process going through this track. So what I used from the track was originally at 90 BPM. I believe it's in E minor, the key, and the track was originally at 90. So what I did was the only element I think I ended up using was the vocal and then maybe some effects. Yeah, a little bit of effects. These all effects here from the track. I only cut a piece of a build up in there. But the vocal that I used, I ended up time stretching it in Logic Pro, and then I kind of rearranged the vocals because I didn't listen all the way through to the vocals, but I found the verse and the pre-chorus part I liked a lot. Take me far away, lost in the moonlight, longing for us. So that's the vocal, and this is without the stuff I put on there. This is without it. So it already had delay and reverb and space and all that, but I ended up wanting to compress it a little bit and add a little bit more reverb to get it to fit in my track a bit more. Right after that came this piano part. So in order for me to write chords like this, I didn't write them in, and I didn't play them in either. Actually, technically I did write them in, but I didn't play them in. I ended up using MMAD Records Cthulhu, and this is a really great plugin. I really like using it to help me find chord progressions, especially for remixes, because I'm not too well versed in music theory, and I'm honestly not that great of a piano player. I can play okay, but I don't really know my way around each chord that well. So this helps me kind of figure out, alright, so I know the song's in E minor, so I'll just grab the diatonic scale of E minor, right? Whatever. And then with whatever instrument I have on there, it'll play out the chords that I want to play or whatever. And I don't remember what I played, but we can actually go into here and actually look at what the chords are. So the first one, I think, since this was more of like a future bass kind of track, usually I don't really make future bass, but this was kind of more of a future bass track, so I went with more suspended chords and seventh chords to kind of give this section, the piano section and all that, and all the chord section, a bit of a fuller feel and fuller sound. So this one, E minor, not a seventh. I think this one's a seventh, yeah. See, suspended seventh, E minor 7. And then this is also B minor 7, A minor 7. See, they're all sevens. Besides the first one, A minor 7 again. B minor 7. Back to E minor. So it makes it kind of gives it a really kind of jazzy feel. And so I basically took those chords, and I saved them here. I took those chords and I threw them on the piano. And from the piano, I went and added all these other layers. I just kind of messed around with whatever synths I liked. And this is kind of the most future part of it. So this is actually one of the presets in Mern's massive pack that he made, and I kind of tweaked it a little bit. So that gives it that future bass kind of sound. And then this is another. This came from rounds that you get from Native Instruments Complete. So the synth is round, so basically you can set up, like, it's kind of cool. Like, you can have it change so that your synth is always changing its tonal quality. and it's going around in circle. That's why it's called rounds. But this sounds pretty dope. Really old school sounding, lo-fi. And I added a glitch to the synth bus so that I could give that that tape stop effect every eight beats. And then this was another piano from Contact. I really like Contact stuff, Contact and Native Instruments. They have really good stuff. Let's just turn off this. So this is also going to that same synth bus. I mean, it's really lazy about it, but it gives you a nice like high mid and like high frequency kind of content. And then I ended up playing my actual bass guitar. I have an Ibanez bass that I played in here. And whenever you can use an actual instrument, it's probably best to use it. Like, use your voice, if you have a bass guitar, use the bass, use the guitar. Whenever you can do that for electronic music, it's always good to use some real instruments, because everything is already digital and everything's already like super synthesized. So when you add this real element into it, and I didn't even really time it, I just kind of played it. When you add this real element to it, it sounds really nice, and it makes it sound kind of, I don't know, more relatable, more real, I guess. And this is what it sounds like without all this stuff on it. So it's just a simple bass line following the chords, and I have certain saturation of bass amps and like just trying to get it to fit in there. And with this bass, I wanted it only in certain parts of the song, which was the breakdown and whenever it was coming out of the drop. So the EQ on this is very, I cut out a lot of low end of the bass, because if I would have kept that, you can hear that it has a good amount of sub frequencies, but I didn't want this bass to have a ton of subs in there, because I wanted it to sit nice with, play nice with all these drums I had going on, and I didn't want any power to be taken away from the drops when my 808s came in. So then the drum section was really important in this song. So if you hear it in the drop, it's very important to have that groove come through in the drop, even with all those elements. There's a lot of elements going on, and it's pretty busy during the drop. But this is without the 808, and this is the drum section. Come on, you can do this. Right, so that's the drum section without the 808, and then we'll just solo all these with the 808. So instead of just having a straight, like, fat 808 playing one note, I felt like it'd be better if it would play kind of the same notes as the chords were playing. So the synth stack for the chords were a combination of these three synths here, and I think they're all Serum. Maybe one of them's a Massive. So we got a Serum, we got a Massive, and we got another Serum. So Serum is kind of like my go-to synth nowadays, because it's so fat and it sounds really good. And you could pretty much do anything if you know how to do simple sound design. And this is that Mern layer that I have going on. So the stack actually sounds like this all together by itself, and that's running through, it has isotope, ozone, just to get the top wide. This is an imager, and then it has an EQ on there just to kind of tighten it up and pull through the frequencies that I want in there. So let's actually show you what this sounds like with and without it. So this is what the synth thing is. There's actually more layers in here. I have a bass kind of like what do you want to call it? Like I have kind of a bass layer that's like really kind of Daft Punk sounding. If it would zoom in, there you go. All right. I just want to show you because what I did for this to get the synths to kind of work with the drums and to cut out when I want them to, as I actually bounced the stack together to both save CPU and to to also treat them as one big stack. So this is what it sounds like with it. So it's pretty basic. It's got like, the only kind of crazy thing is that weird kind of Daft Punk sounding bass that's in there, and then there's a sub, which is a sine wave, and then there's also these three synth layers, right? And they're basically just supersaws, different variations of supersaws. So they fill out pretty nice in the mids, but this is what it sounds like without it. So there is a good amount of low end, but in order for my 808 to fit, I needed to cut out a lot of that. And they're already pretty wide, too. And to keep that whole bounce feel, everything is going through this LFO tool. Everything's got an LFO on it, and it's a standard, regular, just 1/4 regular LFO. So another part of this synth stack that kind of brings it out is this. This is just a preset from Serum, I think, or Massive. Yeah, just to kind of fill out those mids. So if I play it with the stack. And now if I take it out, very thin. And if I put it back in, this just gives a little bit of lift. I know it was already there, but it wasn't the tone that I wanted for it. So I had to EQ it out and add it in again. It may be just me being like super like OCD about it, but that's just kind of how I felt was the best way to get the sound that I wanted. And this was an ARP that is basically just a saw wave, and I did a little bit of detuning and messed around with the envelopes to get it to pluck. So it's literally the same chords being played, but it's being panned left and right, and then it's also got this weird like pitch modulation, so it sounds like an old school like analog synth. Another layer on top of that, on top of the synth stack, is this layer, which is probably my favorite layer, and I kind of stole the idea from Mern, because if you listen to some of his stuff, he's got this really like blippy kind of like sound on top of his synths to kind of give it this nice sparkle. Okay, come on, play. And this is also being arpeggiated, and it says arp this, so technically that's what I did. And it's playing the same chords, but what it's I believe I inverted them a little bit, so I just changed some notes, and it's playing it in 30-second notes to give it that. That blippy sound. And this one is going up and this one's going down, and then I think this is gonna crash, so no, it's not. Okay, cool. So that kind of adds the kind of top end to it and gives it this really interesting like ear candy kind of sound, and then the rest of it honestly is just the vocal chop which is literally I just did in Logic you can like right click on an audio file and then do convert to sampler track and then add your it makes us it cuts it up on the transients or whatever, and then you can play them out on your keyboard. It'll lay it out. But this is just literally just a sample, and I just pitched it up, which gives it a really nice which really kind of just gives it that other extra melody that's going on top. And for the arrangement, you guys can kind of see this. It's fairly simple. It's a fairly simple arrangement. I didn't really think too hard about it. The best ones are the ones where you just kind of feel it and use a guideline of 8 bars and 16 bars and stuff like that. So as you can see, like the intro is 16 bars, and then the next break section where the vocal actually sits is another 16 bars, and then the build is 8 bars, and then the drop 16, and then a little outro for the drop is about 8 bars, and then it goes back and does it again. Literally the same thing. The only difference is in the second break here, there's no kick and drum pattern for the second 8 bars of the break. And also I added this kind of background vocal, which was, I guess it was like a background thing in the original track. I didn't actually listen to it before I made this, but I added this section here with these vocals just to have a change, and just so that it didn't make this sound like such a repetitive arrangement, and when it really actually is really repetitive. I didn't reintroduce the piano from the beginning in here. It was just the original piano from like the top layer or whatever. And then everything after that is just kind of like adding different effects and then cutting out sounds and just adding this extra top melody on here, which is right here. This lead melody, which is, I literally kind of just looped the bounce and played this on the piano. It's a Kashmir lead bounce thing that I just LFO'd and used, and I kind of changed the envelope a little bit to make it a little bit less sustained and make it a little bit more like plucky to fit the vibe of the track. And for this one, I didn't cut out, I didn't mute anything, I just kind of put it over top so that it could be an extra melody and give the ear something new to listen to in the next section, because most of the stuff didn't really change in this section. I may have changed the vocal chop a little bit, but that's just rearranging it. But then that's it, and then it goes out to the outro and basically does the same thing, going into the second break as the end here. But another cool thing I can show you is this little ARP section effect. You can always create cool effects if you have if you use reverb. Now what I mean is, see how that kind of splashes out into like a big wet reverb kind of sound? Okay, here you go. You can actually see it. And then with that, all I did was automate the mix of the reverb and had a really long reverb on it. And then I bounced it so that I wouldn't have to worry about the processing. But for this also, you can cut the end tail here and reverse it and make it like a reverse like sweep in effect too. And I do that with a ton of other stuff and a ton of vocals and a ton of lead sounds. It just kind of gives your track this kind of unique effects that are unique to the track, and then you could save those for your own sample library and use them again, you know. But all in all, this track is fairly simple. Didn't really go too hard on like music theory or anything like that. I just kind of played around with the chords and stacked them the right way, and or at least the way I thought fit the best way, and then just took a bunch of older influences, combine with a new one and try to make a poppy kind of track that would still work on the dance floor. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. And again, if you want to check it out, go to my SoundCloud. It's soundcloud.com/IamVandal. And you can check it out there. It's up there. And also, it is in the Wavo contest as well, which is linked in my SoundCloud. But yeah, check me out.